The rain had just begun to fall when Evan Mercer stepped into the gleaming lobby of the Grand Elora Hotel, holding a damp envelope and clutching his daughter's hand. His shirt was wrinkled, his tie borrowed, and the weary look in his eyes betrayed a man who had fought too many battles in too little time. He was there to apply for a temporary job, just another desperate attempt to make rent before the month ended. But fate, it seemed, had different plans that night. A sleek black car screeched to a halt outside, and the doors swung open. Cameras flashed. Whispers filled the air. And then she appeared, Celeste Vaughn, the youngest CEO in Vaughn Industries history. A name spoken with both awe and envy. Dressed in a cream silk gown, her hair cascading like gold under the chandelier lights, she looked like a woman untouched by struggle. But behind her graceful composure hid a storm only few had glimpsed. That night, she was seconds away from breaking. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected connections, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal to help us spread more stories that touch hearts and inspire hope. Celeste's world had been spiraling for weeks. A vindictive ex-fiancé had been spreading lies that her success was gifted, not earned. The board was questioning her credibility, and tonight's gala was crucial. The night she had to prove strength, poise, and perfection before shareholders and media alike. But as she stepped onto the carpet, her phone buzzed with the message that shattered her facade. "He's here. Your ex just arrived with his new fiancée. They're telling everyone you lied about your engagement being over." Her heart pounded. Her throat tightened. She could already see the cameras turning toward her, ready to capture her humiliation. And that's when she saw him, Evan, standing awkwardly near the reception desk. His 6-year-old daughter, Sophie, clutching a stuffed rabbit, both looking like they didn't belong. His eyes, though tired, carried something genuine and honesty untouched by the city's ruthless game. Something in Celeste snapped into focus. She strode straight to him, ignoring the gasps that followed her heels. Her voice trembled, but carried quiet authority as she said, "You, just act like you're mine for tonight." Evan blinked, confused. "What?" Celeste's eyes glimmered with desperation and pride. "Please, I'll explain later. Just pretend to be my date, my fiancé, just for tonight." The room froze, and for a moment Evan's silence was deafening. The little girl looked up at him, puzzled, her big brown eyes searching his face for guidance. Then, after a long pause, he said softly, "I'll do it. But not for money." Celeste frowned. "Then why?" His answer was simple, but it silenced her completely. "Because you look like someone who's forgotten what it feels like to be saved." Those words cut through every layer of her polished armor. And just like that, two strangers, one shattered by betrayal, the other by poverty, stepped into a night neither of them would ever forget. The ballroom glittered with chandeliers and laughter. Cameras followed them like hawks, whispering among themselves, "Who is he?" Celeste smiled through the whispers, her arm wrapped around Evan's. To her surprise, he carried himself with calm confidence, despite his worn suit. His posture was strong, his gaze unwavering. When her ex approached, smirking, Evan reached for her hand without hesitation, lifting it gently and pressing a light kiss against it. The cameras flashed like thunder. "This must be the new fiancé," her ex sneered. "Does he even own a tie that fits?" Evan smiled faintly, his tone steady. "No, but I own my word. Can you say the same?" The crowd chuckled quietly, and Celeste's ex turned crimson. For the first time in months, she felt a flicker of power return to her. She squeezed Evan's hand, a silent thank you burning in her chest. The night went on, and the fake engagement felt eerily natural. Evan's daughter, Sophie, had been escorted to a small playroom by the hotel staff, but Celeste found her thoughts drifting back to the child now and then. Later, when the cameras dimmed and the crowd dispersed, Celeste found herself sitting beside Evan on a balcony overlooking the glowing city. "You handled yourself like you've done this before," she said, her voice softer now, stripped of all pretense. Evan chuckled quietly. "I've handled worse. You learn a lot when life knocks you down a few times." He told her about losing his wife to illness, about raising Sophie alone while juggling 2 jobs, about being rejected from one company after another because he couldn't afford to look the part. Celeste listened, every word sinking deeper than she expected. This man had no armor, no agenda, only truth. And for the first time in years, she felt seen. Not as Vaughan Industries CEO, not as a trophy in designer shoes, but as a woman. When Evan turned to leave, Celeste stopped him. "You never told me what job you were applying for tonight." He smiled faintly. "Maintenance staff." She blinked. "Maintenance?" He nodded. "Just wanted to make sure my daughter had a warm place to sleep next week." Something inside her broke at that. She had built an empire, yet here stood a man who carried his entire world in the palm of his hand, his daughter, and still found the strength to help someone else. The next morning, Evan returned to his small apartment above a laundromat. The night before felt like a dream. But then, a sleek car pulled up outside, and a woman in a black coat stepped out, Celeste's assistant. "Miss Vaughan asked me to deliver this," she said, handing him a letter. Inside was a handwritten note. "You reminded me what grace looks like. Come to Vaughan Industries tomorrow. Not for a maintenance job, but for something bigger. You helped me save my reputation. Let me help you build your future." Evan's hands trembled as he read it, tears burning behind his eyes. For years, no one had believed in him. Now, someone finally did. When he arrived at Vaughan Industries the next day, Celeste was waiting. Gone was the glamorous gown. She wore a simple white blouse and jeans. "Evan," she said softly, "I looked through your application. You studied mechanical engineering before. Everything changed. We have a position that fits you perfectly, head technician. Full benefits, flexible hours." He couldn't speak at first. I don't know what to say," she smiled. "Just say yes." Over the following weeks, the two found themselves crossing paths more often. Coffee breaks turned into conversations, and meetings stretched longer than planned. Celeste grew close to Sophie too, helping her with homework, sometimes bringing small gifts like storybooks or drawing sets. The laughter that had once gone missing from Evan's home slowly returned. One evening, Celeste hosted another gala. This time Evan stood proudly beside her, not as a pretend partner, but as a trusted friend and colleague. The media was still curious, their cameras searching for cracks, but Celeste no longer cared. She had rediscovered something worth more than reputation: humanity. Midway through the event, Celeste's ex approached again, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "So, he's really part of your life now?" Before she could respond, Evan spoke quietly but firmly. "She doesn't need to prove anything to you or anyone. You don't measure someone's worth by their bank balance, but by their heart." The room fell silent. Celeste looked up at him, emotion flooding her eyes. For the first time, she realized it wasn't just gratitude. She felt it was something deeper. As the night ended, Evan found Celeste outside on the terrace again, the city lights flickering below. "You changed my life," he said quietly. "Funny," she replied. "I was about to say the same thing." He turned to her, his voice steady yet gentle. "You told me to act like I was yours that night. But somewhere along the way, I stopped acting." Her breath caught. The world around them seemed to fade until only his eyes remained, filled with sincerity. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, softly, she whispered, "Neither did I." The next morning, headlines exploded. CEO Celeste Vaughan seen with single father, a love story beyond status. But for once, she didn't care about the gossip. What mattered was the way Sophie ran up to hug her every morning, the laughter echoing. In Evan's small home, the feeling of belonging that money could never buy. Weeks later, Celeste joined them for a picnic in the park. Sophie tugged her hand and asked innocently, "Are you going to be my new mommy?" Celeste laughed through her tears, glancing at Evan, whose shy smile said everything words couldn't. She knelt beside Sophie and whispered, "If your dad lets me." The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky gold and pink. Celeste leaned her head on Evan's shoulder, her eyes glistening with quiet peace. For once, the woman who had everything finally understood what it meant to have enough. And the man who had nothing realized he'd always had everything that truly mattered. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Let's fill the world with stories that remind us that compassion can change lives. Special request, comment below. Kindness is priceless. If you believe that love and humanity still exist in this world,